The moment your foot hits the water, you put your own life in danger. This was the main concept that I wanted my lifeguards to learn when I taught lifeguarding and lifesaving. The mantra simply went, reach, throw, row, go with support is your last resort. Reach, throw, row, go with support is your last resort. Reach, throw, row, go with support is your last resort. Reach, throw, row, go with support is your last resort. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. We're off to save the drowners. In 2006, The Guardian was released starring Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner. At a 37% on Rotten Tomatoes, The Guardian is very much a love letter to the U.S. Coast Guard. Hands down, one of the underdogs and underappreciated aspects of the U.S. military. The 37% on Rotten Tomatoes can definitely be attributed to several criticisms that I, like the critics, definitely have. Well, Hollywood oftentimes likes to advertise the fact that their stories are based on true events. It's no secret that they also like to take creative license with what it is that actually happened. In The Guardian, the opening sequence was the only part that was based on actual events, very loosely based. My friends know that I am willing to fiercely defend a movie depending on how good the music is. Nothing impresses girls like pointless movie music knowledge. Oh, so many poor life decisions. The music in this film was written by Trevor Raymond, and unfortunately, it was very bland. There were no themes, it was about as ambiotic as you could get, and it just really didn't do anything to build any kind of connection to any of the characters. Usually when you leave a film, you would be able to hum the main theme going through your head, and unfortunately those themes simply don't even exist. Not to mention the over-the-top sequences where you're supposed to care about what these characters are going through. The music gives no emotional element to those aspects in any way, shape, or form. The visual effects when it comes to the computer animation on the big C's is very much disjointed to the point where it actually takes you out of the film. You can very much tell that the stars were being filmed in a pool with rough water, whereas the background was simply CG'd in. They took these separate elements, they mashed them together, and they just didn't have enough time in order to figure out the pacing and the rendering of how everything's supposed to move together. The first time I saw this movie, I was really taken aback by the special effects because of the fact that I started to feel a little bit motion sick while watching the film. Upon seeing this film again, I came to realize that the motion sickness didn't come from the special effects. It actually came from the disjointed effects that really kind of didn't sit well with my stomach. Hollywood likes to have a formula that they follow, and as a result, their films become very cooker-cutty. Everything in this movie is very cliche. We've seen it before, from the characters to the plot to the sequence of events that go on throughout the entire film. My comment about the cookie-cutter story is almost literal. Starts off with an over-the-top action sequence, then it goes into the training and redemption story, which eventually concludes with not just one, but more than 3 different endings to try to bring about an exciting conclusion. Excitement, main plot, ending. How many movies can we think of that fits this very setup? The other unfortunate aspect about these 3 different pieces is how widely different they very much are. Over the top beginning, extraordinarily realistic training sequence, and then over the top exciting conclusion. Choose a genre. Ironically, some of the things that this movie did wrong were also some of the things that it did really well. The practical effects in this movie were absolutely fantastic. I always love it when you can actually see the actors being tossed around. You can see the ships getting wet, and just massive amounts of water being splashed all over the place. Unfortunately, it also seems to be becoming a very much lost art. Director Andrew Davis knew exactly where the film was. Over the top beginning, over the top ending. Where is the actual movie? Right here, in between, with the training sequences. This is where you develop that relationship with the actors. Kevin Costner's character is broken. He went through a traumatic experience. His marriage is not with his wife, but rather with the Coast Guard. As a result, his wife is leaving him. Ashton Kutcher plays a character just as flawed with a very similar story where he accidentally killed some of the people on his old swim team. It's cliche for a reason. These are very real events. These are rather well hashed out characters. The portrayal of these characters by Kevin Costner and by Ashton Kutcher were very well done. And I have to admit that I am shocked to say that about Ashton Kutcher. Andrew Davis made sure to incorporate actual footage of training as well as various saves in order to give that extra level of gravity to the trainings as well as realism. One of the examples of the realism in the training sequence is during the drowning recreation in which the rescuer is being attacked by another swimmer who they didn't know were there. This is a simulation that I have done in every single one of my lifeguarding classes. In the film, the guy who finally passed lost control, snapped his head back, and broke the nose of the instructor. That's kind of what I did the first time I went through this training. I also had 2 students do it to me. Gregory Cooper, don't you ever break my nose again. So here's the final rub. As according to Rotten Tomatoes, this movie got 37% by critics, and yet the viewers gave it 80%. That's kind of a big spread. Hoo-ha! A theory! Critics watch a lot of movies. That's kind of their job. That's what they do all day, every day. As a result, they tend to see the same thing over and over and over again, to the point where when something is cliche, it becomes downright frustrating and annoying. When it comes to the average viewer, they don't see movies all day, every day. If they see something that they can relate to, they're going to attach to it. Even though it is something that they have seen in other movies, if it's done in the right way, and in this case, the acting is so good, the realism is so good, the viewers tend to forgive those certain aspects that they know they've seen before to be able to really enjoy the rest of the movie. People who watch and enjoy Full Metal Jacket are also people who very much know the military, whereas most people who are not in the military, while they can appreciate the brilliance of the movie-making technique, they can't relate to what those individuals went through in boot camp, and they could not relate to what it is that those individuals went through out in the field. This movie was very much designed for a niche market, which were the ones who really did view it and really did enjoy it. I openly admit one of the reasons why I enjoyed it was because of my experiences as a lifeguard. I completely acknowledge that that is very similar to someone who's played paintball saying that they can relate to what the Marines went through in a Full Metal Jacket. Was it a perfect movie? Not by a long shot. Beginning and end. These two are probably combined maybe about 25% of the movie, and those are the areas where most of my criticisms actually lie. The true heart and the shinings of the movie happens in between. That 75% span, which were the training sequences. That's where I absolutely loved and very much enjoyed this movie. For those of you still in college, remember 70% will not get you to the head of the class, but it is still passing. To quote one of my mentors, what do you call a doctor who graduates at the last of his class? Doctor. Thank you very much, guys, for checking out this critique of The Guardian. I hope you enjoyed it. Those of you who are in the Coast Guard, as well as all branches of the military, thank you so much for what it is that you do for us in protecting our rights in this country. Please stay tuned as there's more content soon to come.